Does Iran want to make peace now, or do they want to keep fighting? It's a very clear contradiction. What's going on? Iran's foreign minister says he's authorized by the supreme leader to go to Pakistan to talk with the US, but Iran's Revolutionary Guard says they absolutely won't talk. So what's the deal? Will they talk or not? What's the story behind this? That's our first topic today. The second topic. If they don't talk, what will happen this Saturday or this weekend? Will the US begin its landing operations? That's the second topic. The third topic is, if the US and Iran talk peace in the Gulf, which country would oppose these peace talks most and commit fully against them? Can you guess? I'm not talking about the US or Israel. Another thing is Europe. Is the path of opening borders to Middle Eastern immigrants coming to an end? Is Europe about to make a U-turn? That's another topic I'm bringing you today. Welcome to Good Morning America with Fang Wei. Hello to our YouTube viewers and our listeners on Sound of Hope, FM 96.1. Now, let's talk about Iran. It's showing real contradictions. Do they want war or surrender, or war versus peace talks? I call peace talks surrender. Let's talk about these peace talks. Recently, Iran's foreign minister said he has the supreme leader's authorization. Of course, the supreme leader is just an excuse. This supreme leader might be unconscious or even gone by now. Regardless, it's considered his official public declaration. But regarding the talks in Islamabad, Pakistan, it's just rumors. Neither side has confirmed anything. The US hasn't officially announced it, nor has Iran. However, we know that Iran's foreign minister and speaker both have this desire, as revealed through various reports. But so far, there's no official announcement. So the Pakistan talks are just an intention, not a formal arrangement yet. That's the first point. Second, regarding signs of peace talks, Trump said yesterday he received a big gift from Iran. What is it? Trump said he won't say, but it's not about nukes, it's about the Strait and oil. The Times of Israel reported that a senior Arab diplomat and a US official both said Trump's big gift is allowing non-US and non-Israeli tankers to safely pass through the Strait of Hormuz. Since the US and Israel don't really have tankers there, it means everyone can pass. This is a huge change. You see, Iran's strategy against the US is that they can't win a direct fight. So they set the Middle East ablaze, stopping oil flow and making global prices skyrocket to put political pressure on Trump to back off. So by seizing the throat of the Strait of Hormuz, they choke the Gulf and the world's oil supply. That's Iran's tactic. But if they let go, Trump won't be worried. With no global market fluctuations, it's just a local war in the Gulf. This means Iran would have no hope of winning. In this sense, peace talks are like surrendering. So this really shows Iran's sincerity, or more accurately, that some in Iran have this sincerity. But at the same time, Iranian officials have repeatedly rejected the conditions proposed by Trump, including those 15 points for peace talks. But let me say it again, those 15 points were reported by Israel's Channel 12. US officials haven't said that. We can only assume the report is accurate. But even so, the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps has already rejected them and countered with 4 conditions. Stop attacks and assassinations, meaning stop targeting our leaders. Second, ensure war doesn't happen. It won't restart. Third, full compensation for all losses. Fourth, end the fighting throughout the region. And they also said Iran's control over the Strait of Hormuz is a natural and legal right. This sounds pretty tough, but it's a big step back from the 8 points I mentioned yesterday. Yesterday, they said you must close all US military bases in the Middle East and so on, and then the US must withdraw from the Middle East. That's complete nonsense, right? Impossible. Of course, the 4 points mentioned now are also impossible. It still shows some toughness, but it's a step back from yesterday's stance. Regardless, it's still tough. So whether it's war or surrender, it's unclear. Now, what did Trump say? Trump talks a lot, and he's very direct. So if you want to understand his thoughts, just pay attention to his remarks, and you'll see. Yesterday, Trump said the Iranian negotiators are very strange and very incorrect. President Trump never bluffs. He's ready to unleash hellfire. Iran better not miscalculate again. She said the last miscalculation cost them their senior leadership, their Navy, Air Force, and their entire air defense system. From now on, any further use of force will be because the Iranian regime refuses to admit they've been defeated and refuses to sit down and negotiate. Actually, as of right now, while I'm doing this show, Trump is at the White House holding a cabinet meeting. As you know, Trump holds a cabinet meeting every month, and they're quite unique. No other government operates like this. There's a big table. His 20-plus cabinet officials sit around it, and then the doors are open for all the reporters to come in. Trump talks to his cabinet officials and the reporters at the same time. It's the same when world leaders visit the White House. In the Oval Office, Trump gives half the space to reporters, lets them in, and talks to them while he's talking to the guest. Talking to reporters just like that. You know what it looks like? Like a talk show. You know, when Tianliang, Jingyuan, and I do our show, we're talking here, right? And we're facing the camera, facing all of you. It's like a talk show. Trump himself is like a talk show host. He's a media person. So his advantage in this kind of public dialogue is simply, you know what people feel? They feel transparency. This government doesn't have anything to hide. There's no saying one thing and doing another. Whenever he holds a cabinet meeting, it's all very open and transparent. We can all see how Trump talks with his subordinates. That's the situation. Reporters can ask questions at any time, so it's very interesting. So right now, Trump is holding this cabinet meeting. This is what he said during the meeting regarding Iran. Let me read it for you. This is news I just got 3 minutes ago. He said, Iran, they are terrible soldiers, but they are, how should I put it? But they are very excellent negotiators, and they are currently begging to reach a deal. I don't know if we're willing to do that anymore. Trump has already said, if you keep stalling and stalling, I'm just not going to talk to you anymore. That's the situation. Okay, so what's really going on behind the scenes? Let me analyze the situation as I understand it and what I've seen. The Speaker of the Iranian Parliament, a man named Ghalibaf. This Ghalibaf and the foreign minister clearly advocate for peace talks, and the foreign minister explicitly said they've already received authorization from the supreme leader. However, what's happening now is that the speaker and the Revolutionary Guard have indeed started fighting. Of course, one reason they've started fighting is over money. This is news that has recently come to light, and it seems to be true. During an internal meeting, the foreign minister directly blasted the top brass of the Revolutionary Guard. The gist was, you've taken all the money and now the soldiers can't even get paid. Give back the money you've embezzled. We all know that before the war, Iran's top officials were moving money out of the country. When they move money, it's not like they're putting gold on trucks and smuggling it out. They're transferring funds electronically. So, regarding this, the US Treasury Department sees it all very clearly. That's why Besant has been saying they're like rats jumping ship, moving money out. We see it clearly, and we know where the money is going. In the future, all this money will be frozen and returned to the Iranian people. So this situation internally is reflected in what Ghalibaf said. Furthermore, he clearly expressed doubt about the Revolutionary Guard's determination to keep fighting. He said, I don't believe you can stop the United States at Karg Island, which is the oil terminal island, and the Strait of Hormuz. I don't think you can stop them. Those words are essentially a public admission that they can't hold them back. This speaker, Ghalibaf, based on his past experience and what the media knows about him, first, he's very corrupt. Second, he's very tough. And third, he's very smart. So he has it all. He's very shrewd. He probably sees very clearly that if they keep fighting, not only will they lose to the US, but Iran will eventually collapse from within. In the end, there will be nothing left. Okay, so that's one aspect, the conflict between Ghalibaf and the Revolutionary Guard, between the moderates and the hardliners. Secondly, there's the assassination capability of Mossad. How should I put it? Actually, our top headline today should be this. Even though many media outlets are treating it as a major headline, I don't see it that way. I think it's a minor matter. Israel announced that they have explicitly killed the Navy commander of the Revolutionary Guard, a man named Tang Siri. It happened at Bandar Abbas, near the Strait of Hormuz. He was there specifically commanding the blockade of the Strait of Hormuz. As a result of the blockade of the Strait of Hormuz, he was killed in an explosion. He was a key figure in Iran's threat to block the strait and their most important commander. At the same time, another person, the head of a secret unit of the Iranian Revolutionary Guard, and an intelligence official named Hamidi, who had long been engaged in espionage against Israel globally, was also killed in today's Israeli airstrike. These are just two examples. Since the war began, Israel has already given Iran. The top brass made hundreds of calls, maybe even thousands. Now, these calls were serious conversations. I'll tell you about one of them. The call went through and they said, hello, is this Commander Fatih Zadeh? Who is this Fathizadeh? He's the head of the Iranian National Police Protection and Intelligence Organization. He's a high-ranking official, a brigadier general in the Iranian Revolutionary Guard. The other side said. Who is this? He replied, pausing for a moment. Are you listening to me? We know absolutely everything about you. You're on our list, and we have all of your information. The other side simply said, okay. Then the Mossad agent continued, your daughter's name is Sahara, your wife's name is Jahan Baksh, your mother's name is Nadia, and your father's name is Hossein. I'm calling you today to give you a very serious warning. You need to stand up and stand with the people. If you don't, your fate will be the same as your leader, Khamenei. Do you understand? Okay, so how did the commander respond? Brigadier General Zadeh replied, Brother, I swear by the Quran, I'm not your enemy. I'm already a dead man. Please, come help us cut off the heads of all these commanders. He folded immediately, right then and there. This was recorded, and then Mossad released it. They said this is just one recording out of hundreds of calls. In other words, when you see news about an Iranian naval commander being killed, killing him is one thing, but confirming he's dead is another. So you need two layers of intelligence, right? First, you need to know where he is, and then you need to know he's still there. So now, Mossad can clearly take out almost anyone. In Iran, the top brass are most afraid of being promoted because a promotion just increases your mortality rate. So clearly, Mossad is right there. They have a massive network of informants inside Iran. In the upper echelons, whether in the military or politics, it's either the people around you, the high-level meetings themselves, or even your colleagues who are all Mossad assets. And as the conflict progresses and Iran gradually collapses, more and more informants will defect to Mossad. So this war is unwinnable. Thinking about this, I really feel like Mossad is almost like, they've mobilized a sort of people's army inside Iran. So every move of the top brass, including personnel changes, where the new people are, before the change, nobody knows, not Mossad, not even the Iranian leadership, but as soon as they're in, they're gone. That's how deep their network goes. So I thought about the CIA's strategy regarding Iran. I went back and looked at the CIA's YouTube page. Let's take a look at this page. You see, here are 4 posts in Chinese. Now, the combined views are 120 million. This is a recruitment video for agents from a government agency. Usually a few 100,000 would be a huge success. Look at the latest one, also posted a month ago for the Middle East. Definitely for recruiting spies or something. Do you know how many people watched it? 15,000. But here it's 120 million. That's over 1,000 times more. That's the situation. So it's very, very unusual. So I've realized that this is on a completely different scale. So obviously, if we put it this way, if this CIA data is real and YouTube isn't just playing along with the CIA, then tens of millions of CCP officials or party members are establishing contact with the CIA. I think this is right. Don't be left behind. Establish contact promptly. One day in the future, when the US fights the CCP, you can help the US military target objectives. When a new China emerges in the future, you'll have earned great merit. So I think if the CIA can establish so many guide parties within China, or whistleblower parties, well, maybe we shouldn't call them that. It doesn't sound good. Let's call them the People's Legion. If they establish a People's Legion to plan ahead for the future, then the CCP's eventual collapse might be quite similar to Iran's. So, as you saw from the numbers I just showed you, numbers anyone can see for themselves. If they are real, it means a massive number of CCP officials are contacting the CIA. Don't be the last one, right? Don't be left behind. Do you think my suggestion makes sense? Moving on to the next item, Pakistan recently made a request to the US, stating that Israel has decided to temporarily remove the Iranian Foreign Minister, Abbas, and the Speaker of Parliament, Kalibaf, from their assassination hit list. I mentioned this to you yesterday, but today we have the official source. It was a request from the Pakistani government. They said Israel had already tracked their movements and originally intended to eliminate them. But we told the US that if they were killed, there would be no one left to talk to. Consequently, the US asked Israel to withdraw those 2 names from the list. What does this mean? It means Israel had already decided to take them out. Then Pakistan mediated the negotiations. Pakistan felt these 2 were open to talks. So they told the Americans, and the Americans told Israel to back off. That's the gist of it. So these 2 are safe for now. But what that really means is that whether you live or die is entirely in the hands of the US and Israel. That's the situation. How can you continue a war like that? Regardless, there are indeed 2 paths within Iran right now. One is the path of the speaker and the foreign minister, and the other is the path of the Revolutionary Guard. Of course, the Revolutionary Guard can never show weakness to the outside world. Yesterday, I was talking to Ding Yue, the host of 96.1. He asked why they say one thing publicly and another privately. I said they have to. Whatever is said privately is the truth, but publicly, they must use tough rhetoric. Back when Maduro was taken out, his vice president Rodriguez also spoke very forcefully, right? Talking about being resolute, firm, and tough, even bringing out the defense minister to talk big. If he didn't, his own position would collapse immediately. He'd lose his place. But that talk is for their own camp. If the soldiers fighting on the front lines heard their leaders were preparing to surrender, why would they keep fighting, right? So he could never say those things publicly. So it's always one thing on the surface and another in private. That's just how it is. One side acts soft while the other acts tough. It's not a plan, it's a necessity. It's like flying the battle flag on the city walls while waving the white flag below. What happens below and in private is the real intent. This is the true reason for the current contradictions. But as for Trump, he's also losing patience. Trump's recent tweet today, just to mention it, they are currently negotiating and they really, really want to reach a deal. It's just that they're afraid to say it out loud because they feel that if they do, their own people will kill them. So Trump went on to say that they're afraid of being killed by their own people and afraid of being killed by us. He said there's no way out either way. Right now, the head of state who's most afraid is the leader of Iran. Trump's speaking the plain truth. Indeed, within Iran right now, there's a struggle between two different paths. But who holds the decision-making power? It's definitely in the hands of the Revolutionary Guard because they control the military force. If they wanted to depose Galibaf, they could do it in a heartbeat. It's just a matter of whether they choose to do it or not. Okay, so now, in a sense, everyone knows about what's called the Maduro moment. What is the Maduro moment? Its full name is the moment of final regret. You can still regret it at this point. When Maduro was in the capital of Venezuela, he was shouting, "Come and get me. I'm waiting for you. Don't be a coward," and so on. That was his Maduro moment. If Maduro had made arrangements when the US was negotiating with him to take the money, leave Venezuela, and enjoy a wealthy retirement. But he didn't listen. Now he's being tried in a US Southern District Court, and he'll surely spend the rest of his life behind bars. It's the same with the Castros in Cuba. The US is now extending an olive branch to the Castro family. You can protect your family and keep some of your wealth, so you won't end up penniless. Now, the same test is before the Iranian leadership. If you want to survive, it's not too late to regret it now. So the Maduro moment is the moment of final regret. Iran is now at that moment of final regret. There's still time, but by the weekend, it might be too late. Okay, the next question is, if peace talks fail, what will the US do? What kind of hellfire will the US unleash? Well, let's talk about that next. Before we get into that, let me quickly share some info from our sponsor. A few days ago, a 55-year-old viewer from Hong Kong shared that a family member had suffered from gout for years with severe joint pain. After trying the Red Sea cucumber, after just 3 small sticks, one small pack contains 30, the pain improved by 30 to 40%. It's made life much easier. She's currently going through menopause and used to get tired easily, with declining physical strength and difficulty walking. After taking the Red Sea Cucumber Health Gel, she can now climb stairs and catch the bus. Her whole spirit is revitalized, and she feels much lighter. We were so happy to hear this news. It's truly wonderful. Also, her skin used to have many sweat spots, but now it's much smoother. This was a completely unexpected bonus. Of course, this is just her personal experience and doesn't mean everyone will feel the same or see changes as quickly. But if you're interested, why not give it a try? Many people start by just trying it out and end up surprising themselves, and us too. The reason this Red Sea Cucumber Health Gel is so popular is that it's made from wild Red Sea cucumbers from Jeju Island, South Korea. Red Sea cucumbers are only found in 2 or 3 places worldwide. It contains natural sea cucumber saponins, collagen, and mucopolysaccharides. These ingredients help with joint flexibility, daily maintenance, and repair. They also help relieve fatigue and support immune and cardiovascular health. So it's great for the heart and also helps with skin care. If you'd like to try it, you can click the link in the description below the video. Enter Fangwei to enjoy a 15% discount. Also for the monthly subscription plan, first, you get more discounts. Second, supply is guaranteed. And third, you don't have to keep remembering to order. So if you order 60 bottles now, there's a special offer. A free pack of Shen Huang Mission tablets. For 30 bottles, you get a free sunscreen. All subscribers also get a $10 voucher. So act fast, as this ends on April 12th. For mainland China, buying 60 bottles doesn't require a subscription, and you'll still get the Shen Huang Mission tablets. A pack of those plus a bottle of Shenhuang Haishen. The more you buy, the more you get, plus that $10 voucher. All right, time is limited, so don't miss out. Now let's discuss what happens if there's no peace, if peace is off the table. What will happen this weekend? Before that, let's look at the battlefield situation. This Wednesday, General Cooper, commander of U.S. Central Command, stated that as the war enters its fourth week, the U.S. military has struck over 10,000 targets in Iran, destroying 92% of their large vessels, including over 50 mine layers. Additionally, over 90% of Iranian missiles and drones have been successfully intercepted. This is thanks to the multi-layered defense system built over years by the U.S., Arab nations, and Israel. It's proven to be very effective, involving early warning systems, shared radar coverage, and pre-positioned interceptor weapons. Before the war, the US also rushed in THAAD missiles, Patriot missiles, and 2 carrier strike groups, all maintaining interception rates above 90%. But there's a problem: cost asymmetry. It only costs Iran a few $100,000 to make a missile, and a drone costs just $30,000. Yet the US and its allies are using missiles costing millions to intercept them. Consequently, the interceptor stockpiles of the US and its allies are now under immense pressure. For instance, Bahrain has used up 87% of its Patriot missiles. The UAE and Kuwait are at 75% consumption, and Qatar at 40%. Israel is also facing growing pressure and has decided not to intercept certain incoming missiles. They can determine on the fly where a missile will land. If it's headed for open ground or sparsely populated areas, they let it go, because each interception costs millions of dollars. This saves their more advanced interceptors. Simply put, the performance is excellent, but it's too expensive. So now the US military is quickly absorbing lessons from Ukraine, learning on the fly, so to speak. However, this war is highly significant for the US as it provides invaluable combat experience. One aspect is protecting aircraft carriers from saturated attacks by ballistic and cruise missiles. The second is drone warfare. These are rare and vital experiences, serving as textbook cases for future conflicts. This will be a crucial asset for the US military in any future Taiwan Strait conflict. China lacks this experience. Well, it's not that they have nothing, but their performance has been a total failure. Whatever weapons they've supplied have scored zero, hitting nothing. Now, according to leaked internal Pentagon plans, the US military might choose from 6 high-intensity options. First, seizing or blockading Karg Island. This is the hub for 90% of Iran's crude oil exports. Once controlled, Iran's oil revenue would drop to nearly zero. That's the situation. Second, invading and controlling Larak Island on the north side of the strait. Larak Island is the actual key to controlling the Strait of Hormuz. As you can see, it's the one right at the top. Iran has deployed a large number of radars here. It's a long-term fortified stronghold. All 4 of these islands are in Iran's hands. Now, as you can see, this is the strait. These are the islands at the choke point for entering and exiting the strait, because the entire strait is only 33 kilometers wide at its widest point, and the actual shipping lane is only 6 kilometers wide. 2 kilometers on this side, 2 on that side, and a 2-kilometer buffer zone in the middle. That's the situation. So these 4 islands are very, very critical. The US military expects that if an amphibious operation is launched, they might start seizing these islands over the weekend. By the way, I saw a Fox interview this morning with a US general about the Strait of Hormuz. He mentioned that President Trump is being criticized for not anticipating that Iran would blockade the Strait of Hormuz. He said, "You've got to be kidding." He said back in the 90s, when I was a division commander in the Central Command in the Gulf, we were already running drills on what to do if Iran blockaded the strait. So we've been practicing this for decades. It's not at all like what they're saying. So the US has indeed been preparing for this war for decades, with a vast amount of experience and planning. All right, then fourth. The fourth is, just like with Venezuela, the US might start seizing Iranian oil tankers to completely cut off maritime oil transport lines. This would bring Iran's revenue to absolute zero. Fifth is large-scale airstrikes on the power systems near Iran's nuclear facilities. That is to say, the US could launch massive attacks, including on the power systems for civilian use in Tehran and across Iran. They might not do that, but they would knock out the power near nuclear facilities. Without energy, what can you do, right? Backup power for underground nuclear facilities usually only lasts a few hours, at most a few days, and then it's gone. Eventually, everything has to shut down. Once the power's out and the lights are dark, what can you do? You can't do anything without energy, right? So this is also a way to cut off their lifeline. Sixth is an extreme option, limited ground operations. Special forces entering Iran to seize or destroy nuclear materials to prevent a nuclear breakthrough. Now let me tell you about a situation in the US, a recent Fox News poll. As you know, Fox News polls aren't always accurate either. Regardless, the inaccuracy tends to lean against Trump. Even though Fox is a right-wing outlet, its polling isn't always. Sometimes it might even be intentional. I've told you before, like Harry Enton at CNN. Whenever he puts out a poll that's good for Trump, people say even CNN is forced to report it. No, that's not it. It's because of Harry Enton, because that young man does it himself. So every media outlet, regardless of its stance, so it has achieved success, which means that the goals or objectives that were set have been met, and things have turned out as planned or even better than expected. As a result of this achievement, the approval rating is now 17 percentage points higher than it was before. To put that into perspective, if the approval rating started at 50%, it would now be at 67%, which is a noticeable improvement. This increase shows that more people are satisfied or happy with the outcome, and it reflects a positive shift in how the project or effort is being viewed. Okay. So, as you know, in the US, 58% is incredible. If you get 51%, you're already the one who calls the shots. Because in the US, as we know, the conflict of values among the public is very intense, basically a 50-50 split. When you get 58%, you can say it's a landslide victory. This is the political reality in America. It's completely different from Japan. In Japan, someone like Sane Takaichi can reach 80 or 90% or more. In the US, that doesn't happen. Reaching over 50% is already quite remarkable. Of course, whether Trump will go even higher in the future, I think he will. But it's already quite remarkable now. Trump posted another Truth on Truth social using all capital letters to give NATO a slap in the face. What did he say? Translated into Chinese, as you can see, it says, NATO nations have provided absolutely no help regarding this lunatic nation of Iran, whose military power has now been completely decimated. We don't need any help from NATO, but never forget this extremely important historical moment. So, we all know the UK took the lead in saying they would send warships, right? Now, it's said that the number of countries that have signed on has already exceeded 30. So basically, to summarize in a few words, all talk and no action, right? Because indeed, fighting like this, it's over once it's done. This is a very typical manifestation of what's called seeming harmony, but secret discord between NATO and the US. So what will happen next? It will definitely make Trump more and more disillusioned with NATO, because Trump has always wanted to withdraw from NATO anyway. But NATO said no. Everyone accustomed to the post-Cold War era said what you're doing is too much, it's not okay. So Trump agreed, fine then, if it's not okay, it's not okay. But this matter clearly doesn't help with the continuation of NATO. This was the NATO country's own decision. Who can you blame, right? Okay, let's look at the next one. If there were to be peace talks, which country would be the most anxious? That country is the UAE. What's going on with the UAE? Just now, Reuters and the Wall Street Journal reported that the UAE government refused to reach a ceasefire agreement with Iran and will join the ground assault against Iran. What do they demand? They demand the complete dismantling of Tehran's entire threat network first. The UAE ambassador, Al-Otaiba, confirmed that the UAE will join the operation to reopen the Strait of Hormuz. This is the lifeline of global oil. He also reiterated that the UAE will not break its staggering promise to invest up to $1.4 trillion in the US. The staggering promise of dollars will not be broken, okay? Because a while ago, when everyone was hesitating, there was this threat saying the money we promised before, we're not giving it anymore. The UAE then said, we stand firmly with the United States. There's a social media influencer in the UAE named Amjad Taha. What he said is very interesting. Let me tell you, he said the UAE stands as a strong partner of the United States. We will not reach any ceasefire agreement with the Islamic regime in Iran. You cannot negotiate with terrorists, you can only eliminate them. He says the UAE stands firm and will never give terrorists any space. The governments of Germany, Britain and Spain say they want to seek a diplomatic solution with these terrorist regimes. Fine, then let them be your neighbors. Take the Iranian leadership in, just as you did back then, just as you treated the Muslim Brotherhood, that Egyptian terrorist group, which is essentially a terrorist organization. So you give them Give them citizenship. They are all yours. If you want this pile of rubbish, take it, but don't ask us to accept it or coexist with them. They are already stinking to high heaven. Go ahead and take them and endure it yourselves." Then he said, "This Saturday will not pass quietly. It will be remembered, forever remembered." What does that mean? Is he making a prophecy? This prophecy is that this weekend, the US military will begin landing operations. We'll see if that's the case. Next, let me tell you. Let's talk about the country of Iran itself. Why is the UAE so repulsed by Iran? They are both Islamic countries. So why the intense dislike? Let me explain. Khamenei and the Iran he leads are not a typical Islamic country. In fact, it has never been a normal regime since 1979, because a normal national leader pursues national prosperity and the well-being of the people, right? But not Khamenei. What he pursues is called an apocalyptic faith. His goal is to win the final jihad that destroys the world. So, from the perspective of ordinary people, this view makes him a madman. But within his own theological framework, he is a great banner in the hands of God. What is apocalyptic faith? Under the apocalyptic theory of extremist Shia Islam, it's called secular suffering. It's not seen as a failure, but rather a necessary process of a great cleansing and a great evolution. The mission of an Islamic apocalyptic leader is not to pursue national prosperity and strength, but to actively create contradictions and conflicts, making the people suffer. In this extreme despair, humanity can wake up from the illusion of being addicted to the secular world and gain the realization of martyrdom. This is his faith. So Khamenei has emphasized many times that governing Iran well and letting the Iranian people live a prosperous life has never been his task. He said this openly at internal religious meetings. He said Iran is the spear of God, God's spear. The most famous slogan on the walls of Tehran is neither east nor west. What does it mean? In Khamenei's theocratic regime, the CCP and Russia are just like the United States. They are all enemies of Islam. Not his personal enemies nor Iran's enemies, but enemies of extremist Shia Islam. What he means is that we must not only oppose the United States, but also oppose all powers that deviate from the path of Allah. In his eyes, he views the CCP as a protective shield and an ATM for jihad. He has indeed publicly proclaimed the rise of the East and engaged in strategic and energy cooperation with the CCP, letting the Chinese side pay his bills. At the same time, he exploits Russia's ambitions for geopolitical expansion to turn Russia into a northern barrier for his jihad. None of this is to support the strength of China or Russia. Rather, he wants to use the little Satans to clash with the great Satan. The great Satan is the United States, in Khamenei's own words. It's about using Satan's hand to eliminate Satan, and finally Allah reaps everything. So he uses China and Russia to trigger internal friction among China, Russia, and the US. This is his strategy. His jihadist theory, his struggle program, is called the holy parasite, or holy parasitism. He wants to survive long enough in the cracks between the three great powers and keep feeding them the poison of conflict. He is the only global leader with no psychological burden regarding nuclear war, even longing for it. He believes nuclear war is something that ushers in the final apocalyptic battle, a divine war. He likely believes that when the purifying rain of fire falls in that Islamic event, all non-believing secular civilizations will turn to ashes. What rises from the ruins will be the ultimate theocratic order he has awaited for half a century. So, whether it's the US dollar, the ruble, or the renminbi, all will return to dust. This is the apocalyptic faith he speaks of. Don't you think his theory is very similar to Marx's, smashing the old world to create a new one? It's really, really similar in many aspects. I think it's very similar to the CCP, very similar to the Communist Party and communism. So what can you do? When you encounter someone like this, with this kind of faith, how do you deal with him? He takes pride in war and sees death as glory. What can you do? What to do? You can only let him get what he wished for, right? Yes. Okay, the section above was an analysis by Mr. Kai Shenkun. I've borrowed it because I think it makes a lot of sense and aligns well with my understanding of Iran. It's very consistent, so I'm sharing it with you. Now let's turn our attention to Europe. The migration wave is so fierce. Is Europe about to make a major shift? Well, the EU has likely, or possibly, just launched its harshest ever a migrant deportation plan. Here's the deal. Today, the European Parliament voted 389 to 206 to authorize negotiations on a new return regulation. What does this plan include? Setting up return centers outside the EU where people can be detained for up to 24 months. Basically, if you arrive, you're not let in. You wait outside for up to 2 years while the screening process takes place. As you know, for refugees fleeing to Europe who want to enter, what's the current deportation rate? It's below 20%. It varies by country, but overall it's under 20%. That means you have an 80% chance of getting in. So, additionally, deportation orders will be valid across the entire EU. Also, even if a person has never lived in a particular country, they can still be deported to a so-called safe country outside the EU. While these measures are simple compared to what Tom Homan is doing in the US, this is indeed Europe's toughest action against illegal immigration in history. But this isn't the final law yet. Next, there will be comprehensive negotiations with the Council of the European Union, meaning the individual European nations, before the regulation can officially take effect. The EU has three main bodies: the European Parliament, which is directly elected, the European Council, and the Council of the European Union. The European Council consists of heads of state and sets Europe's direction, while the Council of the European Union consists of composed of ministers, one called the Council of the European Union and another called the European Council. Goodness, I can't even tell them apart. It's so confusing. Then there's the European Commission. That's the executive body led by Ursula von der Leyen. Anyway, it's the European Parliament that has passed it now. It still needs to reach a final consensus with the Council of the European Union, the European Council, and the European Commission. But since this matter stems from public opinion, those other two bodies are feeling that same pressure. So there's actually a very high chance it will eventually pass. I have to comment on this. It's what we call piling bed upon bed, a redundant structure. The EU structure is just so overly layered. On top of all the national governments, you have all these extra layers. They'll get through it eventually, but it's just so slow. Regardless, Europe's decision-making right now is incredibly slow and very weak. It's a case of too little, too late. I'll make an appeal here because my show might soon be translated into German or French. Hopefully you can have a chance listening to what I have to say. I truly want Europe to do well. In fact, many Americans really want Europe to thrive. Seeing Europe in this state is very saddening. Now, let's turn our attention back to the United States. A few days ago, I reported on the young American investigative journalist Nick Shirley, who has once again stirred up a hornet's nest, this time in Los Angeles, California. So, what's the situation? The House Oversight Committee, its chairman, James Comer, said in a media interview that they've received Nick Shirley's whistleblowing information. We are now looking directly at Los Angeles. In just Los Angeles County alone, Medicare has spent 10% of the entire country's funding for hospice care. Think about that. Do you know how many counties there are in the US? Over 2,000. And one county, Los Angeles, is spending 10%. Now, this is from a California audit report. You can see in the top left, 3.5 billion. That's $3.5 billion. That's a lot of money. In the top right, 1923. That's for one county, which is basically one city. As you know, LA County and the city of Los Angeles are often treated as one. One city has 1,923 hospice providers. Goodness, is everyone there about to die? What is hospice care? It's when hospitals can't do anything more. They've given up treatment, and it's the final stage. It's for those last few days. Normally, how long is a typical stay in hospice care? It's 18 days. On average, after 18 days, the person passes away. It's care provided for those final moments. In one city, there are 1,823 facilities. In a single building or a single rundown lot, there are 112 facilities. And then, their paperwork says the average stay is 3 months. Normal hospice care only lasts 18 days. Before the person is gone, but they claim 3 months. Many of these are ghost patients. They just buy federal Medicare numbers, one for each person. You don't even have to show up. Just give me the number and I'll collect the money. If you actually go to visit one of these hospices, it's often just a rundown room in a motel, and it's empty. Even if it's not empty and someone is there, they aren't doing anything. Yet these rundown places are surrounded by luxury cars. That's just one issue in the entire city of Los Angeles besides this hospice fraud. Also, childcare and adult care are all just money-making scams. There are many, but I'm not saying everyone is a fraud. There's just a massive amount of fraud. That's the situation. Truly amazing. This is the current state of America, I guess. Anyway, Vance is now leading the investigation into this type of fraud in the US. A lot of information hasn't come out yet, but results are already starting to appear. Now, let me see what questions you all have. Okay, a question from yesterday. Why is Iran still able to launch so many missiles at once? We don't know. We can only say we don't know. Of course, the number of missiles will decrease as they're used, but you just don't know how many reserves they have. But as a country that's been prepared to face off against the US for 47 years, Iran is surely just like Iraq was back then. It's a major military power, the strongest in the Middle East. After 4 weeks of fighting to be in this state, I think it's actually quite impressive. Annie said many high-ranking officials in the CCP military have been taken out, and there are likely few others left with key information. They might have just given up. Will the CIA recruit them? Yes, I think it's very likely. They're probably all on the CIA's list already. That's why the CIA director, Ratcliffe, is so happy that he can't help but want to show the trend charts of his agent numbers to guests every day. But it's too sensitive, so in the end, he decided not to show them. But he's probably overjoyed every day. So Mossad really gave the US a great inspiration, right? This idea of setting up your informants before the war even starts. As a result, they released 4 videos with 120 million views. So a huge portion of the CCP military has either been taken out or has given up. And many have already gotten in touch with the CIA. So we'll see how things go in China in the future. Simon said there's no need to expand the scale of operations, just keep eliminating the hardliners. That's also a way, just keep hitting them over and over. Anyway, the more they're hit, the more they scatter, and the more informants Mossad gets. The one who contacted them late was the one betrayed by colleagues. The one who contacted them late was the one betrayed by colleagues, or rather the one who betrayed his colleagues. Everyone stay fit so that in our lifetime we can witness the downfall of 200 pounds and his fraudulent organization. Yes, stay healthy. 19 Gao said, so this weekend is the most important of the year. A weekend in January took care of Maduro. 5 weeks ago on a weekend, the US and Israel bombed Iran. So what will happen this weekend? Okay. Victoria Fang said, blessings from Taiwan. Thank you. Thank you. Okay. Jimiaozhu said, Islam has many sects. Some are no longer that extreme, but there are still many that are completely unreasonable. Acting like a rogue and being crazy. Yes, this is right, it's like this. Extremism is just problematic. CC says, I hope Iranian leaders can accept the US agreement so that Iranian civilization can be preserved. Iranians could soon lead a free and prosperous life. Iranians are also very smart and hardworking. You know, there are many Iranians in the US. They're different from people from mainland China. Many from mainland China are very pro-CCP, trying to benefit from both sides. Iranians in the US aren't like that. They don't even call themselves Iranians. They say they're Persian. Many of these people are very smart, truly smart. Actually, Iran as a country is very similar to China. Of course, except for the part about siding with the CCP, that's different. In other aspects, they're very similar. The matter of that Muslim congresswoman from Minnesota seems to have fizzled out. Well, it's not easy to expel a congresswoman. So on this point, I don't think it's necessarily over. They might still be working on it. Simon says, after so many Middle East wars, we already know what these Gulf states are really like. What kind of people they are, right? They're all changing. They are changing. This time, it's like the Gulf states are joining forces with Israel against Iran, which is really, really bizarre. Okay, well, let's see. Finally, I want to tell everyone, I introduced it yesterday, this film produced by New Tang Dynasty Television about Shen Yun. So I hope everyone can go watch it because this film is a documentary. It's already been released publicly and it's free. So this film is definitely worth checking out. I'll say it again. The Shen Yun Performing Arts Group's show already opened in New York on March 25th. It's performing at New York's premier venue, the Lincoln Center for the Performing Arts. Before this, Shen Yun shared their All right, that's all for today's talk. Thank you so much for joining me and taking the time to listen. I really appreciate your attention and hope you found our discussion helpful and interesting. We covered some important points today, and I hope you were able to take away something useful. If you have any questions or thoughts about what we talked about, please feel free to share them. Your feedback is always welcome and helps us make these sessions even better. Thanks again for being here, and I look forward to seeing you next time. Until then, take care and have a great day. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us today. I really appreciate you taking the time to be here, and I hope you enjoyed our time together. It always means a lot to connect with you all, and I look forward to these moments when we can share and learn from each other. As we wrap up for today, I want to wish you all the very best until we meet again. Please take care of yourselves, stay safe, and remember that I am already looking forward to our next gathering. Thank you once again for being here, and I hope to see you next time. Goodbye for now, and take care. The values behind it. Okay, thank you everyone. See you next time. Bye-bye.